Carly does something really cool with SUBTO for RVs and campers and then renting those out. How the heck did you even figure out you could do this?
Subject to, for those of you that may not know, it's like taking over someone else's payment so you don't have to go to the bank. One house we saved someone from foreclosure. We got the house subject to, and she's like, I also have this RV. I'm like, hi, I'll take it. I'll take them all.
We've gotten to the point of like, okay, I can do this. What do you do next? Today on the show, we have Miss Carly Grundmann, and I am so excited to talk to her, mostly for selfish reasons, y'all, because what she does, I'm totally obsessed with and can't wait to learn more about how she's figured it out and what her journey has been like. So, Carly, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. I'm so grateful. Thank you for having me.
Yay. Okay. So, for those of you who don't follow her on social media, Carly does something really cool with SUBTO. So most of us have seen whether it's Pace Morby or somebody else on Instagram talking about how they buy like subject to houses or they use like creative financing or owner financing. But Carly's doing it for like vehicles, for RVs and campers and then renting those out. Is that right?
Yes, that is.
So first of all, how the heck did you even figure out you could do this?
I didn't. No, I was, as you mentioned, Pace Morby. So subject to, for those of you that may not know, it's like taking over someone else's payments so you don't have to go to the bank. And I was telling Pace, we were at a mastermind with him, like, I want one of those Sprinter vans or any RV just to take my kids out, motorhoming. That's how I grew up, going camping, being in motorhomes, just adventuring. And he's like, I'm like, I have no idea how to do it. And he's like, you'll do it. You'll figure it out. So I just put it out there in the universe. And then people were like, in our SUBTO mentorship with Pace had bought at that time a SUBTO Escalade. And so I'm like, okay, cars and RVs, it can't be that much difference because you're going to the DMV. You've got the loans the same way. You're dealing with license and registration. So Pace hooked me up with Molly Tennant, his TC, who does all of his stuff. And I'm literally calling Molly from the DMV and being like, what do I do? Like before that, she helped me with the paperwork and stuff. So she's like, you're a guinea pig with the RV thing. So we're going to figure it out together. So
okay, so walk me through that first deal. You've talked to Pace and you're like, okay, I'm going to find this RV and we're going to figure out how to get it through creative financing. And y'all, for those of you who don't know, one of the best parts about creative financing is you aren't using a bank. You aren't using your like personal credit and your credit score and all those kinds of things. So talk me through. We've gotten to the point of like, okay, I can do this. What do you do next?
So what I do next, so I'm doing subject to houses, creative finance houses, just doing my thing. One house we saved someone from foreclosure. We got the house subject to, and she's like, I also have this RV that's like behind on payments. And I'm like, yes,
this is it.
Here it is. So I'm like, hi, I'll take it. I'll take them all. And so, I had used Molly for helping me with the TC for the thing. And I'm like, also, I'm going to need help with this RV. And so it's to find them. Like people are like, how do you find them? And a lot of things, just like with subject to houses, you have to find people in pain that are like, I'm behind. It's not the first option to be like, here, take over my payment on this and keep the credit in my name. And so that's how I found it. And I'm calling Molly. I'm like, help. And she gets on a Zoom with me. She had just gone through this. So it was really, really helpful because she really didn't know what they were doing really with cars. I mean, she knew it, but it was a whole new thing. So that's how I found it. And I was super excited that I found it. And then, like I said, I get the paperwork. She helps me with all the paperwork. She's TCing it. I'm sending it over, getting it notarized. And then I go to pick it up in Boise, Idaho, sitting at the RV or at the DMV. And I'm like, help, how do I do this? So.
Okay. So we found the person. They're like, take over my RV payment. For those of you who don't know, a TC is a transaction coordinator. Yes. People use those when they're buying houses sometimes. And we found the deal, but now we got to go to the DMV because that's where you're going to get like your license and registration, right?
Right. And what's interesting about creative RVs, like when you're buying a house, it's national, like you go to titles, it's like the rules are national rules buying a house. There's very little rules that change state to state. However, when you're dealing with the DMV and license and registration, that's all state specific. So there's a little hurdle that you have to go through. There's certain things like I think Texas will let you, they're like, sure, take it over. Where I bought mine in Idaho, they're like, it's a whole nother thing because then you have to get, if there's a loan on it, the bank holds the title like they do with every single car. And to register something, you need the title. And or your name has to be on the bank. So that was like, I'm calling Molly and I'm like, what do I do? And so, do you want me to go into that about like
I want
how
to hear
I
what
got
y'all
over
did.
that?
Of
So
course.
I go to the DMV and they're like, you need to go call the bank and tell them to switch it. And I'm like, I don't think that's going to fly with the bank.
That's what we're trying to avoid.
That's what so when you don't really want it, it's not illegal. I just want to put that out there. But you just don't want to get the bank involved because then they can call the due on sale clause. Like, as long as it's getting paid and as long as it's a very legal thing, which it is, they don't just pay the bill. So I'm talking to Molly and I'm like, I don't have this. I don't know what to do. I need to figure this out. So she's like, here, this is what you need to do. We have a power of attorney, a limited power of attorney. So it's only for the vehicle. I go down the street to the other DMV and I'm like, hey, I'm registering this for a friend of mine, my sister. She just is got a lot going on. I have a power of attorney. So what we figured out along the way is just register it. You have to register it in their name. That's something else that's not the same as a house. So the mortgage and the registration will stay in their name. So there has to be a very good relationship with the buyer and the seller on this. A lot of mutual trust. And then, so took the power of attorney, registered it, changed all the registration to my address. So any tickets, like they get you on the tickets with the license plate, renewals, registration, getting all that stuff, it goes to me. And so we figured it out. We just went from DMV to DMV to figure it out ourselves.
And so when you did that, I have a couple questions. So for anybody who's in Pace's program or they read Pace's book and he talks about the company he uses as his third party to schedule his payments through, do you do something like that with the RV payment, or are you paying the bank directly for the payment?
That's a really good question. So someone just asked me about this. I have never done that because I have always had a really good relationship, and I will wholesale. Like, I'll help people. I'll connect two people to a buyer and a seller, and I make sure it's a good fit and they're really, there's a lot of mutual trust because you're just paying the bill. So I think you can do that. I have never tried it because I just hook up my auto payment to their account, to the auto payment, and just let it rip. So I believe you can, but that's something I have not ventured through to yet.
And so what protects you as this new owner of the RV from the other person just being like, she stole it, or I let her borrow it and she won't give it back, or whatever story they come up with?
That's why I'm saying there has to be, it's like you're in a relationship. You have to make sure that there's mutual trust and understanding and respect, and everybody's on board with it. I think you also have to make sure you vet the people who are selling it. Like, I just passed on one because I'm like, I feel like this guy might go to the bank later and be like, she stole it. Like, there are things that you can put in place. There's legal documents. It's notarized. It's signed.
You are getting a contract with them that y'all are notarizing and signing.
Legit. So somebody's like, takes you to court, then you can be like, is this your signature that's been notarized? And so you're good.
So what other types of documents are you getting? We're going to have a contract.
We have a power of attorney. I'll have to go through all of them. Power of attorney, a lot of things like a bill of sale. You have to have that when you're doing something. And then basically something that says it's each DMV. That's what goes with the state. So like, I went to Idaho and I was like, how do you sell a car in Idaho? And so they have all these documents that the state is going to require. And I just downloaded them. I use the state's ones. And then I also have our contracts that we have that Molly and Pace helped me get, that it's notarized and everything's ready to go.
I love that. And I love that even though this isn't like the easiest thing to figure out, you like dove right in and you figured it out. So I know you were saying that you went camping and RVing as a kid and you wanted to be able to do this with your kids. Are you renting out the camper now, or do y'all only use it for personal use?
Oh, we're renting it out. We actually got one of our biggest dream. We got the camper first. Our biggest dream was to get one of those Winnebago Sprinter vans. It's like, Winnebago builds it. So it's not an aftermarket build. Like, they know it's not their first rodeo. Everything's going to work. So we actually got one of those creatively as well. And we use crap out of it, or when it's not being rented. But they are rented so much. We live in the Pacific Northwest, like right outside of Seattle. So it's such a good place for people to go out and adventure and go to the beaches or Mount Rainier or the rainforest. So it's rented out a lot.
I love that. And so are you using one of the rental platforms like RV Share or Outdoorsy? How are you finding people for that?
So that's a good question. I use all of them. They're listed on all of them. I don't discriminate. If someone wants to rent from me, they can rent from wherever. But Outdoorsy is the biggest performer for sure. I think it's the most well known.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
yeah.
And so do you have any idea what your numbers on one of those in particular are? Like how much are you taking in a
Yes.
month? How much is your SUBTO payment?
Yes, I should pull that up. So, last summer's when we got this in July, so with the trailer. And so the trailer started renting out midway through the season. And so the numbers were only half of a season, but our payment for the trailer is $250 a month that we took over. And then we made $11,000 last summer between renting it out and the add-ons that come with it.
I love that. Okay, so not only did you make $11,000 on it, you got to take a couple trips with your family.
Yes.
And you're paying off the camper. And like we should be real about it. Campers aren't the same as houses. They do depreciate. They are
Yes.
depreciating assets. We are going to have these like tax advantages. So this isn't like some strategy that's the same as like real estate investing. But it is a really great side hustle,
It is.
especially if you have multiple of them or you want to use a camper for your family and you don't want to have a depreciating asset sucking up all of your cash for like your storage lot, like your and the insurance and all of those things. It helps offset those costs as well as takes in a little bit of extra cash.
For sure. And that's why I always tell people that I'm glad that you said that. This is a very big depreciating asset. As you know, RVs, they break after a couple of years. Like you're always fixing them. Sometimes it takes like 3 weeks to get them in and get them fixed. And so there's that happens. But that's why I always tell people if they're going to do this, don't do this with anything older than 3 years old. And then sell it after like another 3 years because you don't really want to keep holding this on. You can do what you want. Business wise, I don't.
Yeah. And so I have some of these at an RV park that I rent out, and my oldest one is from 2019. And so I have started replacing those now because as something that you're renting out, just like people are used to renting on Airbnb and things like that, they expect them to be like dang near perfect. It's not the
Yes.
same as like if you're in your own camper and like, one of the blinds doesn't match the other one. People expect them to be perfect. So mine that are 2019s, I've just started trading out for newer ones.
That's so smart. And when you're renting them out, so I love how you're doing it because are you just parking them at your RV
Yep.
places? So this is another thing that you have to realize. If you're renting it out outdoorsy, people are taking these and hooking them up to their trucks and reversing them into spots. They're not always pull through spots. And so you have to really vet your people and be like, what kind of truck do you have? Because it's not going to work if you have like a Chevy Colorado. Well, you'll blow your engine if you go up a hill. And then what's your towing experience? Because oh my gosh, it's rough. It's not easy backing up an RV if you don't know how to do it.
For sure. And I like the first time I drove a motorhome, I was like, how the heck do they not make people have a license to do this? I feel like I'm gonna die. And I went from like giant fifth wheel, like 42 foot, to driving a motorhome, and I still felt like, holy crap, I'm not qualified for this. And you see people who've never driven anything but a car go by a motorhome and get in it and just like start driving down the road. You're like, this is not safe. So on Outdoorsy and RV Share, you actually have an option for a delivery fee too, where you could actually, if you lived near like somewhere like Mount Rainier and places like that, where you could actually have them pay for you to deliver the camper if you wanted to do so. Obviously, more labor intensive. You would need to either do that yourself or have someone you paid to do it. Would be a totally different business model.
That's absolutely right. And so what I learned this the hard way with the van. It's easy when you have a truck and a trailer and you're like, here, I'll go deliver this and then I'll drive my truck home. But I drove the Sprinter van to the airport and did not realize that at the airport they have like a higher rate for Ubers. And so it was a $200 ride all the way home. So it gets expensive. And so after that, I was like, it's going to be expensive if you want me to deliver it. But it's like because it's nice because you can back it up, you can make sure everything's taken care of, but also it is very labor intensive if you're going to do it yourself.
So we've talked a ton about having these sub-2 vehicles and vans and campers, which I think is a super fun side hustle for people. But let's dig in a little bit and talk about your real estate investing, because you started all of this because you were already in the sub-2 community and you were buying subject to houses, doing wholesaling. Talk to us a little bit about your real estate journey.
So what's funny is I've always been into the real estate investing space until I bought the house that we're in now in 2020, just had a baby, and it was actually subject to, and we didn't realize it was. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to jail for this. Like, this, I had my dad, my dad helped me, or my dad helped me get the house. I took over the mortgage, got it subject to from him, and then started making the payments. And so then we heard Pace on Bigger Pockets. My husband, Alex, was like, this isn't illegal. People do this. And I was like, what? Why aren't we doing this? Because with traditional real estate, you have 30% down. It's just a lot. You have to go to the banks. You have to show them your taxes, show them your bank accounts, like underwriters. It's like a whole thing. And so then we joined Pace, SUBTO with Pace. And since then, we have been between SUBTO and seller finance, getting all these properties. We just bought one in Palm Beach, Florida for $10,000.
I'm in Palm Beach County.
You are?
Yeah.
No way.
Yes.
I had no idea. Yeah.
Yeah. You had bought the house with some help from your dad and you're searching and trying to figure out like what's legal and what's not. You join the community and now you're buying houses and doing wholesale subject to.
So the way we bought our house was subject to, but we're like, I don't know if this is a legit thing that we should be doing. Are we committing mortgage fraud? And it turned out that we weren't. Thanks to Pace. And now I'm helping other people get RVs and houses subject to or seller finance. And then we're also acquiring them that way, which is great.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So as a wholesaler for subject to, how are you finding both people? I realize that you've got to match them together because people are looking for really specific stuff. So I'm guessing no different than the way I buy things. You need a buyer's list and you've got to have a list of sellers. So talk to us a little bit about your process with wholesaling some of these subject to properties.
Yes. So wholesaling cash deals and wholesaling subject to deals, for me, not everybody does this. It's very much, you're connecting a seller who you're keeping their credit to somebody who is in charge of, because it will affect their credit if they don't pay it. And so as the wholesaler, I take great responsibility on this, and it's my name that's on it. So I'm vouching for the seller, being like, I promise this person knows what they're doing. I promise they're going to pay. So I do a lot of vetting. Right now, currently, I've moved over to only doing it within people in the subject to community that get it, or that I know that have several deals. So if someone stops making payments and they come to me and I'm like, I'm not in this deal anymore, I've wholesaled it, it's out of my hands, I of course will help them. I will help them catch it up. I will find another owner. Thank God that's never happened. But so I'm doing things like I sell a lot to Pace. Like I know Pace, he's going to make the payments. It's going to be good. So Pace and a lot of people that I know personally, I'll connect them with, or extremely vet them. So I think there's a lot of responsibility that goes with creating or selling creative deals more than just cash deals.
And so for people listening to you and they're thinking, oh my gosh, Carly, like this is totally what I want to do. Talk to me about like how you're deciding which ones you're keeping yourself. You're deciding what you're wholesaling. Like you've got some different things going on there. How do you decide when you're going to keep something for yourself or when you're going to wholesale something?
So it's tough. Like I have a trailer over in Pennsylvania right now that I'm like, I would buy this right now if I did not live on the other side of the country. So location for RVs definitely matters. Houses, not as much, but it's always good you want to invest in an area where you have a team. Like if you're going to Airbnb it, you want a cleaner, you want a handyman, you want lawyers in that state. So I look at the numbers and I'm like, is this going to make sense? And how can I protect myself and make sure that I have a team around me, especially if it's not in the area that I'm in? I don't invest a lot in Washington. So I really look at the asset and the support I have around it and several exit strategies. Like, what if Airbnb just gets outlawed in this city? Is it going to is it going to cash flow long term? So I'll look at different things like that.
So most of the deals you're vetting for yourself and saying, does this fit in my buy box?
Yep.
If not, who do I know that it fits in their buy box?
Absolutely. That's how it goes.
For those who are listening and they want to learn more about what you're doing, they want to follow your journey, where can they find you?
Yes, I'm at carly.grundmann on Instagram, Carly Grundmann on YouTube, Carly Grundmann on Facebook. So if you go to Cardy, GCARDYG.me, that has all of my socials. I was going to do my last name, but it's very long and hard to spell. So cardyg.me is where all of my things are. You can learn how to connect with me. You can look at my wholesale deals. You can sign up to be on my buyers list if you guys want houses or RVs. If I don't take them, I send them out to my list. And definitely have to vet everyone. But that's where you guys can reach out to me.
Awesome. Thank you for chatting with us today. It was really nice to learn a little bit more about what you're doing because I've seen you a ton of times on Instagram talking about it. And I was genuinely curious. And I'm really proud of you for diving into something that wasn't exactly easy to figure out.
It's not. And that's I feel like you would probably say that too. When you started, it's just going and doing the thing and figuring it out as you go and not over analyzing it. And the ultimate goal is to be just like you and having RV parks and parking them there so I don't have to take them to places and I don't have to worry about people backing them into trees and all of that stuff. So,
and no different than you did, it's kind of just the not giving up, right? Because when you went to that first DMV and it didn't work out, a lot of people would have been like, okay, well, this isn't possible. That sucks, and forgot about it. But you kept digging in. You even went to a separate DMV and tried again. Like sometimes it's not that like you're failing or it didn't work. People just are giving up too soon.
It's true. Don't give up. Just be consistent. That is key.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for your time today, Carly. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.